I'm Natasha Kaufman, and welcome to my podcast, Don't Just Talk, Say Something, Lessons on 20 Years of Business. Over the past 2 decades of running my public relations firm, NKPR, I'm so grateful to have met, worked with, and learned from so many talented industry leaders. And I'm so excited to be able to share their stories and life lessons with all of you on this podcast. Today's guest is not only one of the biggest names behind the scenes in the modeling and artist management industry, but also one of my nearest, dearest, and funniest friends. For over 20 years, Craig Lawrence has been working with the biggest and most influential names in the modeling and celebrity industry at Ford Models in New York, Miami, and around the world. We met when NKPR was hired to act as the agency of record for Ford Models in New York City, because the thinking was that there are no borders when it comes to working. Smart work is smart work, and Craig has exemplified that. We talk about honesty, dealing with egos, and when it comes to surrounding yourself with the right people, it's about the quality, not the quantity. Here's our conversation. I have to say, I'm so excited to be doing this with one of my closest friends, Craig Lawrence, who is at Ford Models, which is actually, it's interesting because when you think about our relationship over the last 15 years, it's come full circle because I met Craig and I met for the first time when I was hired by Ford Models to do their PR in the US in New York City. And that would have been, Craig, 15 years ago, I think, right? Or 18 years ago?
I think it's more than that. I think it was 2005. So it would be 17 years.
17 years ago.
I don't look a day older since the day I met.
You too, by the way. And so, part of the reason I'm doing this podcast around our 20 years is because I want people to know that, we don't become overnight successes. We don't become successes overnight, and we certainly don't become successful or are in business for 20 years without the incredible people around us. And, when I think about being in business for the last 20 years, I think about you. I think about our relationship. I think that, when we first met and I started doing work in New York, it was definitely, it spearheaded us opening up an office in New York City, me getting an apartment in New York, and truly sort of creating more of a presence for NKPR in the US. Yes. And we've continued to do that. We work in a very borderless way to this day. But you and I had a very unique meeting. And I thought maybe tell our listeners a little bit about how we met. Tell them a bit about what you do, first of all, and then tell them about our first meeting.
Okay, well, my world isn't as exciting and sexy as yours, but
right.
So I am an agent with Ford Models. I was an agent previously with Ford Models, which is when our worlds collided. And you were brought on by a mutual friend from Ford Canada. And I know it sounds like a cliche, but you had me at hello because you are, you're infectious and you're dynamic and you have broken barriers. You never let anything handicap you. And there are people, there's just so many superlatives I could use, but so our worlds joined. When you came here, and I don't even know what prompted you to ask me, but you said, you want to come to Barney's with me, and 5 later, our friendship was just, cemented. And over the 17 years, you've helped me in any way, shape, or form, booking our talent. You helped me when I needed to, find a job. You've helped me when personally, you're my go-to, and, it's funny because you started this podcast by saying, this wasn't an overnight success, but I will tell you that when anyone in any world hears Natasha Kaufman's name, there's a smile and there's, it's just positive, and I couldn't do enough for you. And I think that everyone shares that sentiment, whether it's your friends, your employees, your husband, your family, everyone.
I mean, thank you. Thank you for saying all that. But I would say, the same thing about you and then some. For those of you that, for those of the folks that are listening that don't know who you are, Craig is probably one of the best friends you could have, because you are someone that truly listens. When I think about the takeaways that I want people to have from this podcast, I want them to think about what are some important what are some of the important characteristics that they need in order to become successful? And I would say one of the greatest ones is listening. And you are an amazing listener. You actually care about what someone says and who they are. You ask a lot of questions, and you don't ask a lot of questions just for the sake of it, where a lot of people do. You ask questions so you can truly discover and learn about the person, so that you can get to know them better and make them feel great about themselves. That is one of the things I have to say I've learned from you over the last 17 years. It's, and I talked to a friend of mine about this. You're not someone that listens just to talk or listens just to respond. You're someone that truly listens to be able to understand. And I love that about you. Tell me how, and if I think about your field, you've in order to be successful in what you do, you need to do that. How many models do you work with at any given time?
We probably have about 125 on the current board that I helped start 10 months ago. I mean, there have been hundreds, maybe thousands. But just the whole listening thing, I learned much earlier in my life that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You are supposed to listen twice as much as you speak. So for me, and that is something that I really have learned from my wife, from friends, from family, from people like you. It is really, really important. And I'm also, especially with you, like, I'm not just going to say something that I think you want to hear, which I think a lot of people in life do. I think that a true friend, a true employee, a true whatever the relationship, you kind of have to listen, and you have to. I mean, there have been times when I've spoken to a client that wanted to book one of my girls, and by the end of the conversation, I'm like, you really shouldn't book my girl, which I'm losing the money, but at the end of the day, they're going to come back to me because they appreciate the honesty, because I'm listening.
That's so interesting. And you're 100% right. Honesty. I think it's something that people have forgotten. What most people don't realize, and I'm with you, is I'd rather be honest and live my life with integrity than feed someone bullshit and know that the project won't turn out the way it's supposed to. And so, I think that is actually a very, very important element of success, is be honest.
Yeah, I think that, you and I have spoken, and there are times when I think people will approach you, and then you'll come to me and say, like, do you see this brand being part of the NKPR portfolio? And I've come to you with, do you see this person being a Ford model? And I think that because the lines of communication are so open and so honest, we're able to really, tell each other how we feel without any judgment. And I think that, no matter what you do, no matter what your station, I think that people will respect you if there is some honesty, if there's integrity. I'm able to sleep with a very clear conscience tonight. And I know you are as well. And I think that's largely a tribute to the fact that we're true to who we are.
I have a motto: I don't want to work with assholes.
Unfortunately, we have to, on some level, a client that, it's just, makes you want to just get off the phone and pull out your hair. But I think that it's also comes with, like anything in life, taking the good with the bad, which is helps everyone.
I want to talk about, some of our favorite memories that also acted as learning moments. I'm not going to mention the celebrity and I'm not going to mention names. You'll know the situation. It was very early on in our relationship. He's a very big personality. And we went to dinner with him. We went to a club with him, and he was very obnoxious. And I remember you and I, kind of left that evening and we're like, we don't care how big of a celebrity this person is. He's just not very nice. And we never spent time with him again.
Yeah. I know
that was kind of.
I know exactly who you're talking to, and I know exact dinner. And I will say that I think the older I get, it's funny because I'm celebrating my 31st year in this business.
Wow. Congratulations.
And I'm old as S asterisk.
I mean, I don't know how that's possible when you're just 26.
You're right. Well, I will be turning 60 in 6 months. And the older I get, the more, believe it or not, the more comfortable I am with, and you and I have talked about this too, no matter who we are, we have our insecurities, but this particular person just really needed the limelight and didn't like that somebody else kind of overshadowed him. And, it was definitely, you and I spent so much time I mean, I think we probably both needed therapy from it, but so much time, like, kind of assessing the situation, and we both, I mean, we're in sync, we have that connection, and we felt it that night even more. I mean, that was probably really the beginning of what I feel is what you and I have as friends and more. But it's sad, unfortunately, being in this world, which as well from what you do, the bigger personality sometimes brings the bigger baggage and the bigger issues. And you and I are those people that just navigate the waters and find a solution to every problem. But it really was. It's funny because I hadn't thought about that dinner until you just brought it up.
Well, that sort of brings me to the next point, actually, which is, like, we, in both our industries, we deal with a lot of egos.
Yeah.
And, that dinner obviously included. What are some tips that you have for dealing with that?
Wow. I don't know how much time I have on this to speak. It's case by case for me, but I will tell you that I've turned down models. We've turned down celebrities when I was more involved on the talent celebrity side that we didn't think, number one, fit what we were doing in with our plan, or just would take too much away from everyone else or other brands, other clients. So I think that you've been able to really, really navigate that as well. I mean, yes, sometimes you want to have that celebrity on the wall, or you want to have that person that is everyone's talking about. But there's a price that's paid for that. Sometimes it's worth it, sometimes it's not. I have 3 kids, and I always would watch what shows they were watching or the movies they were watching, and followed some of that talent, and then try to meet them. And when I met them, I either felt like, okay, I can work with this or not. I actually had the opportunity to meet with Britney Spears before Britney Spears became like Britney Spears. Yeah. And I just wasn't sure because she was just like this kid who was really, really young to get the success that she got. And fortunately now she's rebounded, but you've seen the peaks and valleys that she's had in her life. And I give her a lot of credit for withstanding it all.
It's interesting with Britney Spears. I met her as well when she was 17, I think. And she's just a child. And
she was. And little kids, little problems, big kids, big problems. And I think that you've seen so many celebrated people that can handle the success. There's a reason why, you go through your schooling, your education, and then you apprentice or you intern, and then you kind of work your way up the ladder. I mean, I think that, you know, sometimes like you and I, are where we need to be or where we should be in our lives. I don't believe that there are accidents. I don't believe there are coincidences. Like you and I were meant to meet, and you know.
But you know what, Craig, you know what it is, and it's so true what you're saying. It's about the people you surround yourself with. So when I look at someone like Britney Spears, I think that she was always surrounding herself with people that, and not all of them. I certainly believe that, but takers and not givers. And I think like any relationship, there's give and take.
50,
and so I think that again, it's how I started this podcast, which is it really is about who you surround yourself with. That leads and contributes to you becoming the best version of yourself, you know, whether it's for yourself or your business, you know, whatever that is. And you're right. It's no accident that you meet the people that you do, but you have to, it's a choice who you keep in your life. Like you and I could have met and that relationship could have, you know, we could have not worked on the relationship. But we didn't. We were like, I couldn't wait to see, like just now when I saw you, I was like, oh my God. I'm in New York in 4 weeks and you and I are spending like the whole weekend together. But it's like, we've been through so much together, but that's also a choice. It's a choice, the people that you keep in your life. And you need to have enough intuition to know who are the people that are, you know, are your people. And so I think that's also an important lesson, you know, when you're in business, is like, think about who those people are.
You know, sorry for interrupting. I have a really close friend who's been friends with an agent for 25 years. And, you know, no matter who you are in your life, you're going to have friends that other friends of yours or your family or or whatever, they're going to see a different side, because we all just show that face that we want to show to whom we want to show it to. So this woman did something, I mean, unforgivable and unforgettable. And this person came to me and I said to him, I said, look, you know, we go through life sometimes with blinders on because we love. And whether that's a partner, a romantic partner, a business partner. I mean, how many people have been screwed by their partners in business? Friends, client, whatever. And sometimes we do. Sometimes just because we care about their people, you know, we kind of look the other way. But, you know, when there's a pattern with somebody that treats the whole world a certain way, but you don't see that, you know, eventually the sun's going to rise and you're going to wake up. And, you know, you and I have both had people in our lives, some we shared and some on my side, some on your side, that we've had to kind of learn the hard way. And what doesn't destroy us makes us stronger. You know, I mean, I feel now at 59, so complete and so happy with the fewer friends that I might have had 10 or 20 years ago, but it's all about the quality, not the quantity. And I know you subscribe to that theory as well.
For sure. You know that saying, when someone shows you who they really are, believe them, like whether that's good or bad, but believe them. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. So what is one of your favorite memories of us?
I mean, they're numerous.
That's true.
But I just have to say that being with you at Lure, to me, it's like you know, that was our place. You know, they knew, you know, you'd walk in and you got your deviled eggs because that's what you loved. And your, wait, there was another app. Oh, you got the spicy shrimp, the crispy shrimp. But just kind of being at Lure and being with you was magical. And it didn't matter. It could have been 1,000 times. It's sort of like, you know, like I went to Elton John like 3 times in the last year. And I like it every time. So my time with you, it's very, very hard to isolate. Our shopping sprees, where like you would go and you would, to go to every place, and I would sit there like, the dutiful husband. You try on, I would love it when you would try on, oh, you know what, today is the day I'm going to go for that burst of color. And, inevitably you'd buy the black Chanel or the black whatever. Because you do stay in your lane. The events, the dinners, probably, when I went to Canada for your 15th anniversary, it was very, very special. I had never been to your house. I had never met some of your employees, your friends, family, so that stands out in my head. But, every time with you is a gift. Every moment is a gift with you.
I feel exactly the same way about you. What do you think is probably one of the biggest learnings? I know for me, one of the learnings of being friends, for so long is truly just integrity and honesty and listening. You really have taught me to truly listen. What do you think one of the biggest learnings for you is of our friendship in the last 15 years?
You know what, quite honestly, and I don't want this to come off sexist, because that's not me, but you're powerful. I have never met a woman with such power, and you have never allowed your gender or anything else be a hindrance to you. And I think that, sometimes people, sometimes when a woman is in power, men are envious and jealous and try to bring out, say that person's a bitch. But you're beloved by everyone, and it's because of that. The only other female role model that I had that ran a company was Eileen Ford, and you very much remind me of her. I mean, not everyone's going to love you, but both of you knew that, and I think that to see how successful, to see how nothing stood in your way, and I'm not saying that every day is filled with flowers, with roses, but I think that you always, no matter what, you see the light at the end of the tunnel. You see the glass is half full. And I don't, if someone said, what's one word that describes Natasha, I'd just say dynamic, powerful.
Wow, thank you for that. Thank you. Eileen Ford is such an icon, and she built a business during a time when really women weren't even working.
Right. And
So
so have you. And so have you. If you look at the females, what percentage of the world, I mean, I'm always looking at US because that's where I am. But if you look at the world, women have a very, very small percentage. There's a very small percentage of women running companies. So, and I think that you've just scratched the surface. And what I respect most about you is that you don't do it because you're a woman. You do it because you're you. And you don't want to be judged by that. You don't want the barometer to be like, well, I'm the woman that did that. No, I'm the person that did that. And that's why I think people relate and respect to you, men and women alike.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. I always wrap up the podcast with this question. And so I'm putting you on the spot a bit, but you know me very, very well. We've gone through marriages, breakups, mine, of course. Lots of fun things, but what's the one thing you've never asked me that you don't know about me that you want to ask, but you've never asked?
What do you think you'd be doing if you weren't running the empire that you're running?
Oh, that's a great question. I think that, I love fashion. There's no doubt about that. It's interesting. I feel like I get to do everything I want to do doing what I do, if that makes sense. Because when I think about, owning a PR company, I haven't stayed put, right? It's not like we just have clients and I leverage
Right.
those. I was able to start an angel investment company to be able to invest in, products and brands that I'm passionate about. I was able to start a shopping site, because I wanted to make sure that people made a conscious decision to give back to charities in a meaningful way. And so that was Shop NK. So I was able to start a perfume line as part of, Artists for Peace and Justice and giving back. So I feel that having NKPR has afforded me the opportunity to do all the things that I've always wanted to do. I mean, I think if I didn't have the company, I'd probably want to be a fashion designer, creative director, something to do with fashion, because I love it so much. Like, I love it from the standpoint, not just wearing it, because I buy lots of things I don't wear. I love the art of it. I buy things that I just like keeping in my closet because I know how much work went into that particular piece. I love the proportion of, seeing something on, the female body. And so I think for me, something in the fashion space for sure, but I get to do that all the time,
Right.
doing what I'm doing. And that's no accident, because I always feel that you need to feel, I always want to feel passionate about what I'm doing. And if I just stuck with, the one part of NKPR and didn't evolve it the way I have over the last 20 years, I don't think that I would be excited every day. And so part of what I do philanthropically and part of what I do with the shop and some of the other initiatives is because there is that inherent sort of drive to, I want to try this, and so I should.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you can do anything you want.
I actually had a second thought, because people are always saying to me, everyone sees the glamour, everyone sees the glitz and the, whatever, but there's a downside. What, if any, would you say is the downside to being in PR?
Listen, it's a lot of work. I think what people don't realize is how much work goes into everything that we do.
Right.
And I don't think it's a downside. It's just, we often get girls that want to work at NKPR, but they don't, they think it's a lot of events.
Exactly.
and parties, but they don't realize like all the work that actually goes into it. And so it's just, social media has made people feel like, certain jobs are like one-dimensional, but ours isn't. And so much effort and work goes into everything that we do. And so I think about even my role, what people see is, wow, like she's always on social media. She's always having a good time and everything's always fun.
Right.
But the flip side of that is I start my day at 7 a.m. I often don't finish my day till 9 p.m. And I often work 6 days a week.
Right.
And yes, I'm, Rebecca sent me a note this morning saying, I really appreciate you. How are you doing? And I just said, I'm really grateful and I'm exhausted.
Right.
Because it's both.
It's juggling. A couple of years ago, I mean, my twins are 19 now, but one of them, somebody said, "Oh, what does your dad do?" And his response was, "Oh, he takes models to basketball games." and my life as much as I know my life. It's up in the morning and doing my day, and then adding at night. I think that we both can. It's funny you brought up social media, because the biggest challenge for me is everyone in the world wants to be a model, and social media has kind of, redefined the parameters of what's a model.
Mm-hmm.
The truth of the matter is, like, the Jenners and the Kardashians and the Hadids, like, they were all like, Instagram reality stars before, they became what they became. And I give them all the, power in the world. I mean, kudos to them. But, that side is kind of eclipsed that traditional side of modeling. So sometimes when, like, I just met with a girl a couple weeks ago and she goes, I'm really sorry, but, I don't really have a big social media following. And it's funny that these men and women are trained to think that way now. Like, for me to be a model, I have to have a big following, and and that's not the case. And,
but you look at someone like, it's interesting that you say that, but you look at someone like Julia Fox, right? who nobody really knew about until she dated Kanye over a weekend.
Overnight, right now people are inviting her to everywhere, and yeah. So
well, she's sitting in the front row of Versace. She walks certain shows, and
I think that there's nothing wrong with a woman dating a man who happens to be successful, or a man dating a woman who happens to be successful, a man dating a woman who happens to be pretty, or a woman dating a man who happens to be handsome. But I think that you kind of have to shift your priority. Like, I shouldn't be like, okay, wealthy first and then good person second, you know? And you and I've had this talk, you know. I've been fortunate to be around, including yourself, very celebrated, wealthy people. Wealthy can be defined in any shape or form. But for me, I want to spend time with you, not because you can shop at Chanel. I want to spend time with you because I love you. And by the way, we can go shopping at Chanel. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
I do. And I feel like that's actually a perfect way to wrap up this chat, because the nice thing is we can go shopping at Chanel, or we can just be sitting at Laura and having a coffee, and we love each other's company no matter what.
Right. It's being together.
Yeah, I'm just grateful. Thank you so much, Craig, for the chat and giving our listeners an opportunity to get to know you a little bit better.
Well, it's been my pleasure. I wish you all that you wish for yourself and more. Another 50 years, anything I can do. I'm so glad to be part of your journey and look forward to the next chapters. And I love you more than words.
Thank you, my love. One of my favorite things Craig said during the conversation was that we all have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. That's a great takeaway. Thank you, Craig, and thank you all for listening. I always love hearing from you. Feel free to DM me at Natasha and NKPR, and don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review and rating. Until next time.